What about you? You have listened to your two fellow panelists. Your reaction?
Well, Shaka, if we're to have a meaningful conversation here, let's get our facts correct. President Kagame was not behind this referendum. This all began when 3.8 million Rwandans signed a petition and sent it to the Rwandan parliament seeking to amend the constitution. The constitution took up the debate, debated it for 3 days. They could have rejected it or accepted it. Instead, they accepted it. Had they rejected it, we wouldn't be talking about this. The story doesn't end there. This very petition was sent to the Rwanda Supreme Court to see if it was legally sound. The decision was yes, it is legally sound, so a referendum was held. Now, let me say this. There is nothing sacred about referendums. The best governed nations in the world don't have term limits. Japan has none. Singapore has none. Australia doesn't have one. The UK doesn't have one. So let's disabuse ourselves of this notion that term limits is a sacred cow. If you can reject the decision of 6 million Rwandans to decide where their country is going, then we are really not having a meaningful discussion. After all, the power to govern begins with the consent of the governed. 6 million Rwandans, 80% of the registered voters came forward and said, this is what we want. President Kagame has said it again and again. If the people don't want him, he'll move on. But this is what Rwandans want, and I think Rwandans know what's better for Rwanda. This referendum doesn't need to be validated from Washington, from Paris. Rwanda will move forward and determine what's good for the country. Here is the other argument that I would like to advance. Rwanda is only 21 years old. 21 years ago, when all hell broke loose, the international community stood idly by and watched 1 million Rwandans die. They didn't do anything. The UN debated ad nauseum whether genocide was taking place or not. Now, who are these people to tell Rwanda what to do when 21 years ago they simply stood there and watched us perish?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Willis, in one of your blogs, you have suggested that Rwanda is a democracy, and that democracy is alive and well, and that it is up to Rwandans who will carve out the destiny of their country. Is that what you said?
That's what I'm saying, and let me make it clear. Yes, Rwanda is a very small country. We're landlocked, but we're not small-minded. We have the right to determine the course of our nation. We will determine which government is good for us. We will determine if we want to extend term limits or get rid of them. But we cannot be dictated to from D.C. or from Paris or from London. Absolutely not.
Now, according to Abraham Lincoln, a late great leader of these United States of America, once observed that democracy was a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. There are also others who say that the democracy we see, especially in developing countries, is a government of some people, by some people, and for some people. Willis Shalita, what is your definition of democracy? If you were to talk to me from the deepest, better part of the bottom of your Rwandan heart and soul.
Let me remind you what John Locke, the 18th century English philosopher, credited as one of the fathers of modern democracy. He stated that the right to rule comes from the consent of the governed. How better to say it than 6 million Rwandans come forward and say, we need a referendum, and we want to vote yes or no whether term limits should go. If that's not democracy, then I don't know what is.
But what about some who will say, wait a minute, Willis, that was not consent. That was something that came out through intimidation.
If you think President Kagame can intimidate 12 million Rwandans, you are mistaken. The referendum passed by 98.3%. But let me throw this at you. The referendum was even more popular in the diaspora. President Kagame has no control of Rwandans in the U.S., in Canada, in the U.K., yet the referendum got higher marks than it got in Rwanda.